Erik ten Hag set to sign a new contract as Manchester United manager. Summer budget revealed, plus all of your latest news on the ingoing transfers as well as the outgoings. These are some of the stories we will be discussing on this evening's live show. But before we get into that, please do me one small favour. Smash a like on today's video. Let's try and see 200 likes on this evening's show. And if this is your first time watching the channel, please do subscribe as well. I will be live throughout the whole of the transfer window. I usually go live at 11 a.m. in the morning and 6 p.m. in the evening, UK time. And if anything breaks during the day, I do go live as well. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit the notification bell if you want to keep up to date with all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. Right, so obviously, the big story of the last 24 hours is that Erik ten Hag is staying. In my opinion, that is the correct decision. We ran a poll on our community section on our page. So if you go and subscribe, you can get involved in all these polls and stuff. And 85% of people who watch this channel wanted Erik ten Hag to stay. I think about 10,000 people voted in the end, which is incredible, right? 10,000 people who watch this channel, and 85% of you wanted him to remain. 15% of you didn't. Obviously, some might say, oh, maybe they're rival fans, but I don't know. I don't think that many rival fans watch this channel, to be honest. Like, I'm not gonna make out we're bigger than we are. Like, we get a couple of rival fans in the comments sometimes trying to troll us, but yeah, so that's an overwhelming response for Erik ten Hag, isn't it? And Ineos have made the right decision. And we need to give Ineos credit for this. We do, because I was very, very quick to point the finger at them saying, you know, what the hell are they doing? Why are they speaking to people like Thomas Tuchel? Kieran McKenna's not ready. Gareth Southgate makes me feel sick. Graham Potter makes me feel sick. Roberto De Zerbi, there's question marks. And yes, it's taken them 3 weeks to come to this decision, but they've come to the right decision. And more so, the headline this evening is that Erik ten Hag is set to sign a 2-year contract extension as the Manchester United manager. Amazing news. So for anybody who's unaware, Erik ten Hag has 1 year left of his current contract, and they're going to give him an additional 2 years. So it'll be 3 years in total. And I think that's perfect. I really, really do. No manager should be removed from a big club like Manchester United after winning back-to-back trophies. The first manager to do that since Sir Alex Ferguson. Yes, last year was not acceptable, but when you look at all of the problems we had, I don't want to go over it all again because it gets a bit boring. When you look at all the problems we had last season, you can see why we finished in the position we did. You know, the easiest comparison is Liverpool. The season before last, Liverpool lost Van Dijk and I think one other player, and they finished, I think, 5th. They had a terrible season. They were in 7th or 8th for most of the season, and they managed to claw their way back up a little bit and finish 5th, right? None of the mainstream media were complaining about Jurgen Klopp, a man who's won 1 Premier League in 9 years of being at Liverpool. None of them. They were all saying, oh, it's the injuries. I feel so sorry for him. When it's our manager, it's, oh, he should be winning the league with Johnny Evans. He should be winning the league with Amrabat at left back. It's a disgrace. Like, it's just, we've got to see through the crap, effectively. And Ineos have done that. Ineos have gone with their heads. They've probably gone with their hearts a little bit, and they've also listened to the fans. But I want you guys to let me know in the comment section, how do you feel about this new contract? Do you think it's the right decision? Do you think it's the wrong decision? Let me know what you guys think. So yeah, just get in the comment section and say either, you know, I don't think he should have a new contract, or I do think he should have a new contract. The key thing to this, though, and this is the bit that you really, really need to focus in on, is that apparently Erik ten Hag is going to have a lot of his power removed. And you know what? That is the correct decision. 100%. Apparently, he's going to lose his veto on transfers. He will still be involved in the recruitment, but he's not going to have the final veto. At the moment, written in his contract is a clause that says that he has a veto on all transfers. That's unusual. Pep Guardiola doesn't have that. Jurgen Klopp didn't have that at Liverpool. Carlo Ancelotti doesn't have that at Real Madrid. They have elite teams around them, sporting directors, CEOs, scouts, who identify the players that suit that team's style of football. So Erik ten Hag is going to have that removed from his contract. And you know what? I cannot argue with that one bit. I think it's 100% the correct decision to remove his power and to give him a new contract. Because the point being here, when Erik ten Hag joined, he didn't have these people around him. He had John Murtough and Richard Arnold, who are finance people. Neither of them know much about football, let's be honest. They've come from a finance world, the same as Ed Woodward. Whereas Omar Barada has been at City for God knows how long. Jason Wilcox was the head of the academy for City and then went to Southampton. Dan Ashworth obviously was at Brighton, at Newcastle, worked for the FA for England. Like, these people are football people. And Erik ten Hag is a coach. He's not a scout. He's not a technical director. He's not a director of football. He is a coach. His job is to go on the pitch, motivate the players, and implement a style of play. That's what he did at Ajax, and that's what won him trophies at Ajax. He had a team around him at Ajax that did all the rest. You know, they had Edwin van der Sars, etc. So I couldn't be happier. I couldn't be more happier about this, to be honest. I think him signing a new contract is the correct decision. But the key thing for this for me is that his job is changing. He's no longer the manager, effectively. He is going to become the head coach. And there is a big difference between the two things. To this point, Erik ten Hag has had way too much authority. And that's probably affected his ability to actually do what he's there to do. And that's coach the team. Okay? There was talk last season that he was coaching the under-21s. He was out signing players, etc. It was stupid. It's not how a proper football club should be run. So I'm really, really happy about this. Right, let's keep on the topic of that, though. So, yeah, new contract for Erik ten Hag. Correct decision, in my opinion. Where is it? Yeah, so the expectation, this is coming out from multiple journalists, is that Erik ten Hag will sign a new 2-year contract in the next couple of weeks. So, yeah, I think they have to do it. And I think, as I said, removing those powers from his contract is going to be a win-win for everybody. It will ease Erik ten Hag's workload, but it will also put the responsibility in the hands of more experienced people who will only make us a better football club in the long run. So I have to applaud Ineos for this. I have to applaud them for keeping Erik ten Hag for one, but also, coming to an understanding which allows Dan Ashworth, Omar Barada, Jason Wilcox to do their job. Because that's what needs to happen at top football clubs. You know that. But yeah, let's see what people are saying in the comment section this evening. Everyone who's just joined the video, we've got over 300 people watching. If you could do me a small favour and smash a like if you haven't already. Let's try and see 200 likes on this evening's show. And if this is your first time watching as well, don't forget to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Get involved here on Daily Red Devil. I'm live every single day, so yeah, come and get involved. We've got a really, really nice community here. So if this is your first time watching, please do subscribe, bottom right-hand corner, and get involved in the show. Right, let's see what people are saying. Stephanie says, I think that's a fair contract. Yes, I agree. Alan says, brilliant channel. Thanks, mate. He says, contract is absolutely the right thing to do. Gives a message that he is here to stay. Of course, I said this on my reaction to him staying last night. I said, it's all good and well them saying he's going to stay, but unless they give him a new contract, I fear that one bad result and they'll sack him. Whereas they're not going to sack him after giving him a new contract. Fabrizio Romano said this morning, okay, that Ineos will give him a new contract and they'll put full trust in Erik ten Hag. They will trust the project and they will help him by giving him the tools that he didn't have before now. He didn't have a director of football. He didn't have a proper CEO. Darren Fletcher was the technical director. Let's be honest, Darren Fletcher is not a technical director. He's not worked at any top clubs, has he? Tell me what top clubs Darren Fletcher's worked at. None. He finished his career at Manchester United and then he got a job at Manchester United. And I know obviously we're a top club, but you know what I mean. He's not the best in class. Does that make sense? It's not like he's worked his way up. It's not like he started in League Two and then went up to another Premier League club and then went to another club. Like, he finished his playing career and then the Glazers said, oh, let's just give Darren Fletcher a job. Oh, let's make him the technical director. And, the people we had helping the manager for the last decade were clearly not good enough. Ed Woodward was not good enough. John Murtagh was not good enough. Richard Arnold was not good enough. Darren Fletcher as a footballer was good enough. But as a technical director, I'm sorry, he's not good enough. And I think that Ineos here, by effectively, they're empowering Erik ten Hag here. They're giving him all of the tools to succeed. And if he doesn't succeed, in a year's time, I'll be the first to say get rid of him. I will. If we have no injuries obviously that's stupid. If we don't have as many injuries next season, we get good signings in the summer, players leave, Erik ten Hag gets what he wants, and we don't do well, then he probably should be sacked, But I think it was very, very difficult for us to sit there and throw a manager under the bus when all of the problems that we knew about were happening, as well as a takeover, Jadon Sancho, Mason Greenwood situations, Anthony allegations, injuries, no director of football, no CEO. Like, the list was ridiculous. And I think that this season for Erik ten Hag is almost like a new beginning. I almost feel like he's turning over a page in the book. Does that make sense? Like, and I feel like he's obviously had an incredible start so far, I think, winning 2 trophies. The first manager to do that since Sir Alex Ferguson in consecutive seasons. But I feel like this is now where his story begins. And this is where now he's going to be heavily looked at. Ineos have backed him. They're giving him a new contract and they're giving him the tools to succeed. But now it's up to Erik ten Hag to show us how much of a good coach he is. We don't need you to go and sign the players, Eric. We don't need you to tell us the next best player from the Eredivisie. We've got Dan Ashworth, Omar Barada, Jason Wilcox, and Jean-Claude Blanc to do that, as well as all of our scouts. So you focus on the football, you focus on turning us into an attractive footballing side, and you focus on us bridging the gap to Man City and Arsenal. That's all I ask of you. And if he can't do that, then effectively in a year or 2, he probably will go. But I have all of the faith in Erik ten Hag and Ineos and the team around them that we will succeed. And I see no reason why we shouldn't be positive. Because as I said, 85% of people who watch this channel wanted him to stay. We've got what we wanted. He's getting a new contract. Apparently players are going to be sold. Jadon Sancho's going to go. Mason Greenwood's going to go. Donny van der Beek's going to go. Like, we're talking at least 10 players will leave this summer. We'll probably see 5 or 6 first-team players being signed as well. He's going to have everything given to him and every possible chance to succeed. Now, I've got a question that I want to open up to the comment section. The question is this. What are your expectations for next season? Let me know. I did run a poll on this a couple of days ago and the results were really, really interesting. But I want to ask again. Let me know in the comment section and in the live chat, what are your expectations for this season? I will give mine. Obviously, I expect you guys to give yours as well. My expectation is this. We have to win the Europa League. That's an absolute must. Okay? We have to win the Europa League. And me being realistic, I know people are going to laugh at this and people are going to say, oh, your standards are in the mud and all the rest of it. I get it. But I think top 6, finishing in the top 6, 5th, say, and winning the Europa League is the minimum. Obviously, I would like to do better than that. You know, I'd like to do to get 4th, to come 3rd, whatever. But I think top 6 and winning the Europa League is my expectation. Anything less than that would be a failure. If we were to win the Europa League and win the League Cup or something, that would be amazing. You know, we're not going to go and win the Premier League next season. It's just not going to happen. We're not just going to suddenly bridge the gap between us and Man City. I know we beat them in the FA Cup final. I know Erik ten Hag outwitted him. I mean, what if that did happen? What if we did win the Premier League? Like, anything's possible in football. Leicester City won the Premier League. No one expected that to happen. Like, it could happen. But I'm just being completely realistic. I think top 6, I want to see attractive football. I don't want to see us getting beaten by teams like Bournemouth and Crystal Palace at home. I want Old Trafford to be a fortress again. You know, I want us to win all of our home games. Beat Arsenal, beat Liverpool, beat Man City at home. Okay? Get in that 5th or 6th place and win the Europa League comfortably. I would be happy with that. That would be 3 trophies in a row for Erik ten Hag. But the key thing for me is that I want to see good football. I want to see football that excites us, football that gets us off our seats. I don't want to see us getting humiliated by Bournemouth at home. I don't want to see us getting humiliated by Crystal Palace at home. You know, that can't happen. And if it means that we have to park the bus in some games, if it means Erik ten Hag has to change his tactics, then that needs to happen. Fred says, would you like Ineos to explain their behaviour and what's coming from them in the future? I think we will get that information in the coming months and time, for sure. But yeah, I don't know. Let's do a little. So I've got a little poll going as well, actually, about the summer budget. So we'll talk about that in a minute. We've got over 400 people watching now, guys. Big ups to everybody. Please, if you haven't already, smash the like button. It helps to bring more people into the channel. It shows the video to more people, so it will really, really help me out, and it will help this community out if you like the video. And make sure you subscribe as well. I've just dropped a link in the chat to subscribe. Bottom right-hand corner. Get involved on the show. But yeah, to summarise the section on Erik ten Hag, I could not be happier with the decision. New contract is the correct decision. And the key thing that I want to re-emphasise is that removing his power is probably the best thing that Ineos have done here. And I'll leave it at that, you know? So the Erik ten Hag outers, I think we actually have a bit of a mutual understanding, because the Erik ten Hag outers will say, oh, he signed Antony for 100 million. I mean, he didn't technically go and give Ajax 100 million. That was John Murtagh and Richard Arnold, but he pushed for Antony. He pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed for Antony. He pushed for Onana when we probably didn't need him. He pushed for Mason Mount when we didn't need him. The list goes on and on and on. He signed Amrabat and then sat him on the bench all season. Like, the signings have been questionable. And him being stripped of that, I think is going to actually empower him. Because I think having somebody like Dan Ashworth and Omar Barada and Jason Wilcox there to help him identify talent will only improve things. And if anything, it takes a bit of responsibility and a bit of pressure off his shoulders, because every single time Antony had a bad performance, people would say, what the hell is Erik ten Hag doing? Why did he sign him? Like, it would just keep going on and on and on and on, wouldn't it? Kerwin says, why would we park the bus against Crystal Palace? I mean, Crystal Palace are a good team, mate. I'm not saying we should park the bus against every single side. I'm saying I want to see different formations, different styles of play. His ability to look at a game and say, this is how this team play. We're going to combat it by doing this. Just like what we did against Man City. If we tried to play against Man City, team for team, we would have lost 5, 6, 7-0 probably. But Erik ten Hag set us up in a very clever way. He set us up in a way which he outclassed Pep Guardiola. And that's what I'm saying. And I think this season that's just passed, Erik ten Hag didn't do that in some games. You know, his ego got the better of him. And he said, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to play like that. I'm going to try and do this. I'm going to try and play attractive football. And it backfired. David says, I'd like us to sign Amrabat, but we should play him in the right position. Yeah, I think signing Amrabat is probably a sensible decision, to be honest. Like, the amount of money it's going to cost is such a small amount of money when you look at what else is available on the market. So yeah, let's move over to some transfer related stuff then, shall we? We've spoke about the manager for enough. Let's talk about players coming in and players coming out. So we already spoke about this a couple of days ago, but the news I'm getting this evening is that apparently Manchester United will 100% sell Jadon Sancho. Erik ten Hag has apparently asked Manchester United to sell Jadon Sancho. But Fabrizio Romano said a couple of days ago that regardless of what happens with the manager, obviously we now know he's staying, but at the time Fabrizio didn't know that. He said that regardless of what happens with the manager, Jadon Sancho will be sold. So that's one player who will definitely be leaving the club. Apparently Man United are looking for 40 million for Jadon Sancho, which I think is probably fair. I think you probably could potentially push that if, a Premier League club came in for him, like a Tottenham. But obviously, the issue with Sancho is his wages. It's whether any club's going to want to pay his wages. Dortmund won't want to pay his wages. I don't know. Let's have a look at Tottenham's wages. I know Tottenham were interested in him before. He'd probably go to Tottenham and do really well, to be fair. Let's have a look. So Tottenham, yeah, I mean, this kind of sums up where our problems have been over the last decade, right? Tottenham's highest earning player is Son, who's probably been one of the best wingers in the last 5 years, 6 years. I think Son is a very, very good player. Son earns 190,000 a week. Okay? Which is obviously a hell of a lot of money for me or you, isn't it? Like, that's life-changing money. But in football terms, it's not actually that much. Like, I'm just having a look at Jadon Sancho. Jadon Sancho earns Let's have a look. Son earns about £11 million a year. Jadon Sancho earns 13 million. So that kind of sums it up. Tottenham's best player earns less than Jadon Sancho. So yeah, it's not great, is it? But yeah, I think 40 to 50 million for Jadon Sancho would be completely fair. And I think that will massively help our ability to go and spend money this summer. I will talk about the budget in a minute because it's not looking particularly good, but I think we always get these stories every summer, so we'll take that with a pinch of salt. I wanted to talk about Mason Greenwood quickly because there has been some more articles this evening. Apparently, Man United are asking for £50 million for Mason Greenwood. Juventus have reportedly put in an offer of around 25 million, which I think is a joke, to be honest. There is no way on earth Mason Greenwood's worth 25 million. Let's be honest, okay? Whether you like Mason Greenwood or not, whether you think whatever, he is worth way more than 25 million. I'm sorry. I think 40, 50 million is kind of the benchmark of where we need to be looking for Mason Greenwood. I think 40 is maybe low, but I think is probably fair. I think 50 is a good price. But the issue again is, will clubs like Juventus want to spend 50 million on Mason Greenwood? I mean, he's 22 years of age. He's a generational talent. He's gone to La Liga, playing for Getafe, was one of the best seat players in the Liga. I think he's easily worth 50 million, to be honest, you know? But obviously, Mason Greenwood does have this dark cloud over his head, if that makes sense, you know, with obviously all of these allegations and stuff, which I'm not going to bother getting into now because it's completely pointless. It's in the public court of opinion. In the eyes of the law, he didn't go to trial, so obviously, legally, he's not guilty. But in the public court of opinion, everyone has an opinion. So Mason Greenwood will leave Manchester United. Is he better than Antony? Yes. Is he better than Sancho? Yes. Is he better than Garnacho? Probably yes. Is he better than Rashford? Probably yes. But that's not the point here. The point is that Manchester United and Ineos have decided to sell him. Okay? They've decided not to bring him back. And the conversation we need to be having is how much you would feel comfortable letting Mason Greenwood go. And my opinion is 40 to 50 million pounds. But obviously you can let me know in the comment section what you think. I would also put some add-ons on there as well. David says, do you think Greenwood's price is affected by his past? Of course he is. Of course it is, mate. Of course. That's what I'm trying to get at. Mason Greenwood's price tag is 100% affected by the stuff that's happened to him in his personal life, without a shadow of a doubt. Because when Mason Greenwood was in the first team for Man United, if another club had come in for him, we'd have probably asked for 80 to 100 million, I reckon. And that's not even me being funny. At that point, when he was banging in goals for Man United, starting every single game, I think it was under Ollie, he would be an 80 to 100 million pound player. But obviously these off-the-field issues have massively reduced his price, you know? It means that Premier League clubs don't seem to want to go for him, realistically, do they? There's no Premier League clubs interested in him, as far as I'm aware. It's Juventus, Atletico Madrid, Getafe, Saudi Arabia. So, yeah, I think obviously letting him go is the correct decision, realistically. But anyway, let's move on from Mason Greenwood. Mason Greenwood, we've spoke about. Let's have a look quickly at the comments in the chat. Stephanie says we should be getting around 100 million for Sancho and Mason Greenwood combined. I think that's fair. I do. I think maybe 40 million for Sancho. Sorry, 40 to 50 million for Sancho, 40 to 50 million for Greenwood. I would be happy with that. I really, really would. Yeah, I think that was a very fair price. So yeah, I agree with you there. Okay, so Jarrad Branthwaite, a player I really, really wanted to talk about. Everton are reportedly desperate to sell players between now and the end of the season. Sorry, the end of June, because of the profit and sustainability rules. And I think the kind of, what do you call it? Like the start of the new profit and sustainability period is July the 1st. And Everton need to sell players before then. They're in an absolute mess. So Jarrad Branthwaite to Manchester United. The news I'm getting this evening from a very, very reliable source is that apparently it's more likely that Jarrad Branthwaite will come to United than Todibo, which is interesting. Now, is that because of Nice not wanting to sell their best player to United? Obviously, I know it's the same owners, but what are the Nice fans going to think if they sell their best player to Manchester United, you know? Imagine if Jim Ratcliffe went and bought Atletico Madrid, say, and then we find out that Ineos have agreed to sell Garnacho for 30 million to Atletico Madrid. You'd be fuming, wouldn't you? So I think the Todibo transfer, although it seems really easy when you think about it, because it's the same owner, I think it actually complicates it slightly, because whatever happens, the Nice fans are going to be upset. They're going to say, you've just sold our best player. You're benefiting your other team. And the other thing we need to be really, really careful about, which I think a lot of people have forgotten, is there are rules in place with UEFA that say two clubs in the same competition can't sell a player to the other club if they're both competing in the same competition. Now, Nice are in the Europa League. Man United are in the Europa League. So this does pose a difficult problem, because the rules say you can't sell a player from one club to the other if they're under the same ownership and they're competing in the same competition. Because effectively, you know, imagine Real Madrid and Man United were in the same competition. You could sell Mbappe to United for £10 or something. Obviously, that's a stupid example, but it creates an unfair competition, doesn't it? Because you might sell your best player to another club to benefit them. And obviously, if they're competing in the same competition, it makes it an unfair for the other club. So, yeah, I think Jarrad Branthwaite is a way more likely option. Apparently, they want 70 to 80 million pounds, which is stupid. Absolutely stupid. Like, they're not going to get that. Man United will not make the mistakes they made with Harry Maguire. Ineos will not make the mistakes they made with Harry Maguire. Everton will be lucky to get 50 million. And I think 50 million around that kind of mark is probably fair, being honest. And the reason that I have this figure in my mind is that I keep using John Stones as the benchmark. John Stones was playing for Everton. He's a centre-back, right-sided centre-back, English. John Stones moved from Everton to Man City 8 years ago at the age of 22. Okay? And you're probably thinking, why are you telling me this? But it's really, really important. Jarrad Branthwaite is 22 next week. So by the time Jarrad Branthwaite moves, he'll be 22, playing for Everton. John Stones also played for Everton at the age of 22 in the same position, and he's English. Obviously, the English tax is always going to be there. Everton received 55 million euros for John Stones, which is about 47 million pounds. So if I'm Man United, I would look at that and say, we will give you the same amount of money that Man City gave you for John Stones. So around 50 million, say. And I think that's fair. I think anything more than that is completely unjust. Man City are the second richest club in the world after Newcastle. Like, not by way of their owners, sorry, that's what I meant. Why would Man United pay more than them, you know? Like, they just wouldn't. Not the new Manchester United anyway. So yeah, 45 to 50 million is apparently what Manchester United want to pay for Jarrad Branthwaite. They're not going to cave in. They're not going to go a penny over that. They're being very, very stubborn with their offer. But Everton want more. Everton want this 70 to 80 million. But no one's going to give them that. It's all good and well saying, I want this, I want that. But if there isn't market and there isn't a competition, Man City don't need a centre-back. Arsenal don't need a centre-back. Liverpool don't need a centre-back. Like, none of the other teams in the top 4 or 5 or 6 need a centre-back. They've all got starting centre-backs. It's only Manchester United. So effectively, we're competing against no one. It's not like Man City are about to offer 50 million for Branthwaite. Everton either take our bid or they have to sell another player. They have to sell, I don't know, Amadou Onana, or they sell Jordan Pickford, or they sell somebody else because they need to raise funds. So I think this deal will be done. I would be very, very surprised if we don't sign Jarrad Branthwaite. And I'd be happy with that signing as long as it was for around 40 to 50 million. Anything more than that is stupid, in my opinion. But obviously, let me know what you guys think. We've got nearly 500 people watching the show live now, which is amazing, guys. Big ups to all of you. Please smash a like on the video really, really quickly. It helps to bring more people in. It will allow us to do bigger and better things in the future. And make sure you subscribe as well, bottom right-hand corner. I'm live every single day. And throughout the transfer window, honestly, there's going to be so much content, so much conversation. So make sure you get involved here on Daily Red Devil. Right. Just seeing if there was any other transfer news. Yes. So in relation to our budget, the headline coming out this evening is that apparently Man United have £50 million to spend plus player sales. 50 million sounds very low. And I think that that's just rubbish from the media. I think we probably have closer to 100 million, in my opinion. Looking at all the figures, looking at the fact that Varane's gone and was on high wages, looking at the fact that Casemiro will go, Jadon Sancho's going to go, Mason Greenwood's going to go. Like, I think we'll spend probably around 200 million this summer, total budget. And I asked you in the chat, 34% of you think we'll spend 100 to 150 million. 24% say 150 to 200. 19% say 200 to 250. And 24% of you say 50 to 100. So, very interesting. Very, very interesting indeed. Lots of people are asking me about João Neves. I would love to see Jarrad Branthwaite at Man United. I just don't know whether we're going to be able to make the finances work. They want 100 million for him. That's his release clause. I think it's too much, to be honest. I think he will become a £100 million player. But as I've said to you many times before, we need 6 first-team players this summer, right? And how much does a first-team player cost? Probably 50 million minimum, right? So around that kind of price, isn't it? If you look at the people we're linked to, Branthwaite 50 million. Who else are we linked to? Trying to think of more people off the top of my head. Branthwaite 50 million. My brain's gone numb. Elise 60 million release clause. Like, you get where I'm going with this. First team players are going to cost us 50, 60 million. And we probably need 3 to 6. And I just don't see how we can include João Neves for 100 million. Like, we can get 2 players for that, 2 first-team players. I think he's a luxury signing. I think he's someone I would love to have, but I just don't know whether we have the finances to be able to do that, to be honest. I mean, I would love for us to go and sign Branthwaite, Todibo, João Neves, Xerxes, Frimpong, like all of these names, but Elise, but it's probably unrealistic. I think we're probably looking at 3 first-team players, realistically. Probably Elise, probably Branthwaite. We'll probably keep Amrabat, and we'll probably go for Xerxes. That would be my expectation. And we'll also go for a left back. The guy from Bournemouth, I can't remember his name. I think he's Hungarian. He had a really good season though, didn't he? What's his name? I can't remember his name, but he plays for Bournemouth. He's a left back. Somebody says, is Bruno Fernandes staying or leaving? Mate, I don't know at the moment. I think Bruno will stay personally now that Erik ten Hag's staying. But yeah, obviously I'll keep you updated. I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. Been an amazing show this evening. We've had so many people watching, which has been incredible. Please do smash a like on the video before you go. Please do subscribe to the channel if you're new. This has been Daily Red Devil. Have a great evening, everyone. I will be back at 11 a.m. tomorrow morning for more updates, more news, more conversation. If anything breaks between then and now, I will go live. Have a great evening.